At a time when we're all being told to stay in our bubbles to help limit the spread of COVID-19, the Canadian Army has just conducted a major military training exercise. 2,500 soldiers maneuvering around Canadian Forces Base Wainwright, Alberta. Why is that? The short answer is to maintain operational readiness. Exercise Maple Resolve is the Army's premier training exercise of the year. It normally runs for several weeks each spring, and it is soldiers' main opportunity to validate their training before deploying on actual operations.
At the end of the day, when the Government of Canada requests support from the Canadian Armed Forces or the Canadian Army, we need to be able to deliver. That is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks of the year. The validation of that capability is done here at Maple Resolve in Wainwright.
These soldiers need to be versatile. They could be deployed to combat, training, or humanitarian missions in other countries, or ordered to assist in the fight against COVID, wildfires, and floods here at home. But their ultimate and most dangerous mission is to prepare for war.
The threats that soldiers could face on real-time operations are replicated here at Maple Resolve 21.
Conducting this training is even more important this year.
This level of exercise was canceled last year because of the novelty of COVID-19 pandemic. So I think you'll see a lot of soldiers who are happy to be back in the field doing their job.
All right, are you sick today? No. Have you had COVID-19?
COVID has certainly added multiple layers of complexity this time. It's impacted every stage of exercise planning, design, and delivery.
In this sense, COVID-19 really adds an element of realism to the scenario. It is an adverse, real-time, and adverse environment that we're dealing with here, and we are prepared to deal with it, and we are dealing with it.
The exercise was scaled back significantly. Fewer than 3,000 soldiers this year, about half the number that trained here 2 years ago, all chosen to meet the missions already assigned to the Army.
These are the demands that have been placed on us by the Government of Canada. These are the commitments we've made to our NATO allies. We've zeroed in on those deliverables, and that's what we're generating here at Maple Resolve 21.
The pandemic also limited the number of participants from the United States and Great Britain. These British soldiers had to undergo a 14-day quarantine at Canadian Forces Base Suffield to ensure they were healthy before they were allowed to train alongside Canadians in Wainwright. Canadian soldiers, mostly from Edmonton and Shiloh, Manitoba, also went through stringent testing procedures before they could begin training here.
So right off the bat, before we came here, we had to do a 7-day functional isolation. So every member of the exercise was at home. And then the second step was upon immediate entry into the training area, we all did testing. And it was only really until those results came back that we were allowed to commence whatever job we were here to do. And then even after that, we maintain cohorts during this exercise. Once we are in, we say that we're in the box. There's no exiting unless you're leaving pretty much for good.
The soldiers also received their first vaccinations before the exercise formally began.
And over the course of 3 days, there's 1,800 people that are in the training area that were offered the vaccine, and over 1,600 of them accepted the first dose of Moderna. So it was about a 91% uptake, and that's something that we're very, very proud of.
Even after being vaccinated, soldiers still had to wear masks, except when training beside those in their own small cohort or bubble.
And it's really no different than family units outside of this exercise. How you'll be in your house, you might not have your masks on with your wife, your kids, but you go outside of the house, you wear your mask.
If they began to feel sick, they came here to the field ambulance, which is like a self-contained military hospital in the training area.
So these are the guys who are the first line contact for any patients that might be coming through. So this is the patient entrance. On the other side of this, there's a field phone. We pick up, hello, ask them questions. Have you been tested? Do you have any symptoms? And then if no, They'll come on in, have a seat here, and we'll get them registered. If they do have symptoms, we'll engage them outside, a safe distance, ask questions, what's going on, and determine our course of action from there.
Military doctors and medics diagnosed, isolated, and treated anyone who showed COVID symptoms right here inside the training area. All this attention to detail has been critical to the success of the exercise.
It's part of being in the military is not just looking after yourself, it's looking after others. And I think that's what we've seen out here.
And while COVID has definitely affected the conduct of the exercise, the training itself has been largely unchanged.
I can tell you the exercise thus far has been outstanding. It's going to result in the validation of all those forces assigned to our operational remits. Canadian Armed Forces are going to be ready at the end of the day to deliver any assigned mission from the Government of Canada.
After Exercise Maple Resolve, many of these soldiers will remain in Wainwright for another month and another exercise. The tactical and health-related lessons learned so far will be applied when soldiers switch from firing blanks to using live ammunition during Exercise Agile RAM, demonstrating they can operate safely and effectively in spite of COVID-19.